just sit down, down. Show your face, you're the party girl. Show your face, you're the party girl. Oh, oh,
The inspiration behind this thesis is the story of Hades and Persephone, and how Greek mythology, basically that story tells how the seasons are changing every year. My actual thesis for this collection is exploring the idea of sustainability and maximalism, and how I, as a designer, can cater to a more maximal customer in a way that is still considered sustainable.
My collection is a sustainable, transformable designer bridal collection. I have two inspirations for this collection. The first is the sustainability, as I said. The thing that really struck me was how wasteful the bridal market is, considering dresses are only worn once. The collection is a completely sustainable collection from industry trash, and it's to bring awareness to how wasteful the fashion industry really is. And the other inspiration for this collection is the gardenia flower. And I chose the gardenia flower because it's the secret ingredient in many love potions. And it symbolizes eternal love, happiness, and it's filled with layers. It transforms. In the market right now, there's a huge trend for brides to have two wedding dresses, so this solves the problem and creates less waste doing it.
I titled my collection Stigma, and it's about mental illness and kind of about how everybody's experience with mental illness is different. I kind of wanted my collection to have the message of like, yeah, it's okay to feel what you're feeling, and it does suck at times, and like, it's okay to have that feeling, and what you're feeling is valid. That's kind of what I based my collection around of, is like those emotions and feelings you have when you are going through something like that.
This is my collection that is inspired by the Indian wedding. I am trying to show and examine the culture of Indian weddings, and as you know, it's a multi-day affair. So I have tried to represent each ritual, the traditions in each look. So all in all, from the first look to the last look, it's a celebration of the Indian wedding, from the very first day to the last day and to the bride. It is all about celebrating the bride and groom coming together, the families uniting, and you will see the culture of the Indian weddings.
So this is my senior collection. I did a menswear collection. I personally don't believe that clothing should really have a gender. I feel like everyone should be able to wear whatever they want, but that being said, I understand that the fashion industry and society will not just get rid of gender or the concept of gender. So I said, okay, well, I want to make clothes for men that I haven't really seen in the market. So it is an all menswear collection. I made the choice, I should probably say, for it to be all black because I wanted the collection to still look elegant, and because it is so different for a men's collection, I didn't want someone to think it was drag or that I was trying to make costumes. I wanted it to be taken seriously. So that was why I chose this color palette.
Avant-garde for years has been wearable art. My collection focuses on body positivity, and I wanted the body to be part of that artwork. The corset for years has been a garment that changes the female form to be whatever society wants it to look like. I have the natural forms with the corset back to accept the style of the corset while rejecting the purpose of what the corset was originally made to do. My inspiration was from Versailles and a lot of European architecture. When I traveled to Paris and I was in Versailles, I noticed all the ornate detail, and I thought that that was going to be one of the best things that would turn the body into artwork.
My collection is Armored. It is a military-inspired collection. Women's wear, ready-to-wear with some streetwear influence. I chose to inspire my collection by futuristic military vehicles. A lot of military-inspired collections are usually about historical uniforms, so here's my collection.
When the sunrise, I'm on my own time and I can be good to you.
So it is a unisex contemporary collection based on inspirations from two different viewpoints of the future of society, from utopian and dystopian contrasting views. I think a lot of younger generations are very excited about the fact that society is relying less on typical gender expression and gender roles. This is a good expression to create a better future. This is my collection, Goddess the Creator. It is an evening wear collection for spring-summer. I was heavily inspired by ancient Egypt for this, but also by my own personal experiences being a person of color. My grandmother is my biggest inspiration. She was a Black woman who was a performer in Chicago and would always be my biggest supporter.
I designed a resort collection designed around my travels to Germany. I'm very passionate about providing the plus-size market with an opportunity to shop inclusively. That's something that I'm really passionate about bringing to the fashion industry. My collection is about Algerian basket weaving. So I wanted to make a collection that reflected my heritage without just being like a modern take on Algerian clothes. I really have always really liked the basketry, and I felt like my collection, like the heart of it, was really about the weaving rather than just the garments themselves.
This is based off of the Anthropocene, which is the era that we're currently in right now. And this is a resort wear collection. Swimsuits and light fabrics are definitely a thing for that. And that could mean it could be positive and or negative. I am focusing on the negatives in this collection and mainly basing it off of climate change and mainly to do with the ocean life. So this is about overfishing, microplastics in the ocean, and just being really conscious of that. And this is a sustainable collection. I used macrame detailing and hand dyeing, specifically shibori dyeing, which is an ancient Japanese technique for tie dyeing. So you'll see that throughout this collection. The other prints you see were inspired by those microplastics floating in the ocean. And then I also incorporated accessories with this that also have that ocean theme and macrame detailing.
My collection is a 7-piece knitwear collection. My inspiration was the Paleontology Museum in Paris. I was inspired by the repetition seen throughout the skeletons as well as the way the bones are connected. One of my focuses for this collection was sustainability.
My collection is called Roses, and it's inspired by the Wars of the Roses. And this is a menswear collection. And I was inspired by the kings and the queens and the knights' armor. I did a lot of hand beading of the emblems they used of the roses for each house. There were 3 houses, and each one had a red rose, a white rose, or a red and white rose.
I have made a 7-piece evening wear collection based off of mental illness and the stigmatization of mental illness. I've lived a lot with anxiety and depression. It has kind of become a taboo subject, but I don't want it to be. It should be talked about. It should be expressed. It should not be hidden. It is something that I can't just turn on and off. I wanted to embrace the grotesque beauty of it, and there's a lot of elements in my collection that kind of highlight that, such as cloud silhouettes, as though in depression and anxiety, sometimes you're lost in a dark cloud and my mind is foggy and it's just a tornado of thoughts. There's lots of Swarovski crystal beading that represents blood droplets, that represents the unhealthy coping mechanism of cutting, which is a very personal subject, it's very personal to me. You wouldn't really think of mental illness as an evening wear collection. That's why I wanted to tackle this subject and make it into something beautiful.
My collection called Invisibility is inspired by bisexuality and how bisexual people feel invisible and like they cannot be recognized visually to others. I really wanted to focus on that circle design, and I used watercolor to create all the prints and went from there. Also, I used machine embroidery to show different phrases of bisexual stereotypes that are invalidating. In addition, I used different bra strap ideas throughout the collection in different ways because I thought it would be fun to do something non-traditional. And then lastly, I also did some hand ruching in circle insets, which are throughout the collection as well. Since this is such a personal subject for me, I wanted my goal to be for this collection to be something where the garments that would bring people that are bisexual or even anyone, any identity, something that they would see themselves in and viewed as or visible to others.
This is my collection unveiled, and I was kind of inspired by my faith. I grew up in this Christian household, and I never grew because I always just believed what I was taught. And then in recent years, I've been realizing that I saw a world through a really small lens, but I never questioned it. I never dug deeper into my thought process. And as a result, I think I excluded people and, avoided friendships that I should have taken. So this is kind of me expressing how everything's not black and white, and to transform the way that we think and the way that we can see people and the way that we accept them. I have this sweet aesthetic, and it's very cutesy because it kind of represents that youth that I had, and I was so stagnant and innocent. I used a lot of sheer fabrics to kind of show the illusion of that and how it's not so clear. So I'm using ruffles and some layers over top of my embroidery fabric to kind of just show that conflict in me.
This is my senior collection, Kingdom Come. It is an 8-look evening wear collection inspired by heaven. Heaven is a very conceptual subject, and I took that as a challenge to really capture the ethereal beauty that we understand it may be. I did take some inspiration from more literal motifs. I took a wing inspiration from angels, and then also the symbol of a dove, which is part of the Christian faith and it means purity, is also throughout the collection. And a couple of these pieces were created in a collaborative process with artisans that are local. The whole point is just to elevate doing things by hand, slowing things down, and bringing the industry back to appreciating craft. As a person that's always loved art and is a big promoter of the arts, that's the main focus that I wanted to emphasize.
This is my collection, Albatross. So I chose this name because of the metaphorical meaning of having an albatross around your neck. It's referenced by the poem by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. The question that I was researching with this collection is, how does mental illness affect our society and economy? I decided to focus on one important aspect of this question, which is homelessness. So 25% of homeless people in America are mentally ill. I believe that if we can fund more mental health research, that we can drastically decrease the amount of homeless people in America, leading to a decrease in unemployment rates and a better functioning society and economy overall. So I wanted to reveal externally through this collection what people struggling with mental illness feel internally every single day. So I did this through silhouettes, unique materials, and details. And I think with a better understanding of the social and economic issues caused by mental illness, I think the public will be more willing to dedicate time and resources to fund more research on this subject. Every single detail and silhouette that I have in this collection was intentional and reflects my thesis. I did everything in here for a reason and a purpose.
This collection is based off of the Volsung saga, which is a saga in Iceland. In the saga, there are violent murders, there's betrayal, it's a lot about vengeance. Throughout the saga, a Valkyrie named Brynhild, she was pricked by a sleeping thorn by Odin. And after a few centuries, a dragon slayer named Sigrid woke her up by cutting her out of her armor and freeing her. And throughout their story together, they go through battles, they fall in love, and without Brynhild, the Valkyrie, Sigrid is nothing. It is all of these triumphs and failures, and overall, the main theme is femininity and freedom for women.
My collection, All In, is about the idea of going all in with somebody, all in love. And that's why you see a lot of heart motifs and also a lot of playing card motifs, as giving yourself to somebody is just like gambling in a playing card game. So I use those things to create fun motifs for my collection. I also integrated those using the methods of upcycling. I used a lot of upcycled denim in my collection. along with pattern designing and print designing, engineered printing, hand embroidery, and machine embroidery. So I used all of those things in this collection. I have a very graphic and colorful aesthetic, so you can definitely see that throughout my clothes, and I think that the graphic of all of these elements really brings out the theme of my collection.